What do you do? What does Changing Places do?
Well, we're an amazing team of organizers, and we started out by actually organizing houses, and we've increased that to designing and orchestrating moves, small and large, anywhere in the world.
Oh, I was just going to ask you, what geographic area do you guys serve?
We're probably 75% is Northern California, and the rest, which would be maybe 10% is international moves, and 15% would be national moves. And they're quite different. Each category requires a different professional amount of input and expertise.
So when you're doing it, how do you orchestrate an international move? Do you go there?
You have to get the international movers, and I have an amazing group of specialists, and they have different licenses, and they have different rules, and they have to deal with customs, and whether it's on a cargo ship or it's going to be flying. Sometimes we fly the small pieces there. It's very much more expensive, and it requires just a completely different set of details and learning.
Wow.
So nobody really understands that. That's why they get into so much trouble.
Oh, good.
So do you get to go travel?
Well, that's
indeed.
what I was wondering.
Yes, indeed. I have a partner in Europe.
Oh, cool.
And we're ready to go anywhere in the world.
Very cool.
Rumor has it that your company had a different name at one point. Sorry, I set you up for that one.
My company name was Rent a Wife.
Yeah, I love that name. That's funny.
We were on TV.
Really?
They did a little show on us, and it was quite. I did errands, housekeeping, and catering. I was actually cleaning houses when I moved here and couldn't get a job. And then I started to organize. And then while I was in the Rent-A-Wife business, a gentleman from PE Capital asked me to move him from San Francisco to New York City. And I did. I actually packed him and flew there and unpacked him and put him away. And that's how the business evolved.
Wow, good for you. Talk about just letting it happen.
Yeah,
letting
an
it
entrepreneurial
morph
spirit. I love it. I love it.
Can you give us
that's the American way. I think that's what's so good about the United States. We can do that kind of thing. If you can work hard,
that's it.
It works.
Yeah. Give us an example of what type of client you serve.
We do the full range. I don't think we say no to anything. We have a lot of multi-million-dollar clients. We have working families, busy executives, seniors who are moving, downsizing, or there's just, it's so exciting every day when the phone rings. We have no idea what's going to come in, and we serve all of it.
That sounds like fun. Have you ever had?
I like to say it's a little bit like Forrest Gump, and you never know what you're going to get when you open that box of chocolates, right, Margaret?
Speaking of chocolate,
could ring, and it could be one spectrum to the other.
So, have you ever had to turn away a client? And if so, why?
Yeah, that's the one thing. I don't do hoarders. And I'm a member of NAPO, National Association of Professional Organizers, and there are a lot of qualified people at NAPO who psychologically understand how to help a hoarder.
Right.
Otherwise, if a non-professional goes in, they can damage that person forever.
Oh.
The hoarder can say that you've stolen their things and you've misplaced things, and they get you into a lot of trouble, where, in fact, most everything is considered garbage. They might collect paper bags or plastic bags or newspapers, and it's a health hazard. So that's the only thing that we have made us just, I put my foot down and said, nope, that's not something I'm qualified.
It could damage me forever.
Well, you know what? That's why I would hire you, so that you could be responsible for it, and you're trained to deal with it.
So Margaret could damage me. Okay, great.
She's going to think you're a hoarder.
So how the heck did you get into this career? I mean, so you just fell into it through you went from cleaning to helping people? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, I did. I just fell into it in the fact that I had been Rent-A-Wife, and I was cleaning houses, and then this Howard Weinstein invited me to move him. But I think I'm a board organizer. I'm also a dyslexic. I can't read I can read very little. I'm really technically challenged, etc. And because I was such a failure in my youth, when I put something down, I needed to remember where it was because, God forbid, I looked more stupid than I felt and had to go back and find it. So I became extremely organized to a fault, and that also made me a very, very hard worker. So if you can multitask and be organized and be a born organizer, you can do really well in this business.
Interesting. So you know what? That also explains why you're probably so successful, because you're just really driven to deliver. I can see that in your personality. And after seeing your office, it's A, beautiful, and B, really organized.
So can you take a semi-organized person and give them a few tips and get them to be a little bit more organized?
We do that all the time. We're working with KPMG right this moment.
Oh, really?
Most of the time it's a lack of space. And I know that when I come to a cluttered office, it's because that person is a visual, and they won't put things away.
Absolutely.
They won't put things in drawers because they can't see them.
You've seen Lisa's office. She has what I call the leak syndrome. She leaks into other people's space.
No, I do not. That is not true.
So if you want to join in the conversation, folks, give us a call here at 415-431-TALK. That's 431-8255. All right, Margaret. So I'm moving. I'm moving my luxury home from San Francisco to Chicago. Give us an overview of kind of how would you help me, and is there a timeline involved? Do you give me a timeline and tell me how long this is really going to take and all that?
Oh, absolutely. We just did the reverse move for a tech HR person coming in to Silicon Valley. So we had a team from New York City moving her. We showed up in New York. We helped her label and sort and organize and decide where the things were going in the new house. So I actually had to see the house they were moving into. And when I hired this person to show up in New York, she took pictures, so she sent them to me so I could see what was coming.
Wow.
And let's say grandmother's china, or, where do you want it in the new house? It could be that it's front and center, or you want to put it in the garage and put it away with catering things. So when you label a house, you label where it's going, not where it came from.
Oh, okay.
And this particular house was a glass penthouse in New York City.
Wow.
And she was coming to a suburban house, which had completely different features, and it was missing some. It was missing some rooms that she'd had in the old place. We showed up with a crew. We worked with the movers. We labeled the art and the valuables so that we knew what had to be created and what did not. We watched it go on a truck, so we oversaw the donation being taken away. We measured furniture so that we could put it in the house in the right places. Sometimes the furniture is too big or too small, and we have to adapt it. Then we hired a decorator for her, and when the truck arrived, we oversaw the unpack and put away. We had 7 crew, and we worked 4 days.
Wow. We
built storage room racks and hung pictures, and within 4 days, the whole house was unpacked and put away, and she and her 3 kids and her husband were all set up and ready to go back to work.
Wow. So that process from start to finish took how long?
It was, it's a 10-day trip across the country. So we were in New York for 2 days, packing it, and then the cross country, and then the day of the move, we worked 5 days, but the crew only worked 4 days. So our supervisor showed up to help do the bingo sheets, is what that's called.
The bingo sheets?
Bingo sheets are checking off the furniture and the inventory to make sure that it all arrived and didn't go to somebody else's home.
I could see that happening to all of the Clip stuff. I'd have to be in cahoots with somebody who's playing bingo.
Look, your stuff didn't arrive. Yeah, do they ever say, okay, could you please make sure this box gets sent to Minneapolis?
Hey, we just got an email from Bill in Foster City, and he asked, why do I need an organizer for a move? And I think I know the answer to this question, but please.
Yeah, please, Margaret. Why does he need an organizer?
Well, because a lot of people aren't organized, and they get overwhelmed by the move. A lot of them try to pack themselves, and what they don't realize is if you pack it, it's not insured, the movers might break it, and you're not covered.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we downsize and organize and edit before it gets on a truck. So, for example, there's a statistic for every national move. If you delete 1,000 pounds, you are increasing the less amount for the move is $1,500. So if you want to save money, edit before you put it on a truck, and then the unpack and put away is going to be a lot easier and faster.
So I could see you, like, if, for example, if we were moving, I would want to hire you because you would really, you'd probably put things in front of us and go, do you really want this? It's been in storage underneath your house for 2 years.
I thought you were going someplace different. I thought you were going to say, so you could say, we just happen to leave 1,000 pounds of Cliff stuff behind. Oh, my gosh. Do you help edit? Do you help people edit?
Yeah. We did an estate sale where we brought in 20 6-foot tables, and we should have had more. We should have probably had 25. The tops and underneath were completely full.
Wow.
So we collected all like you're talking about editing, we open up drawers and cupboards and closets and put them out on the tables, let people come through so that it's mentally taxing but not physically taxing for them.
Well, in fact, okay. So
does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So you do. So let's talk. You've moved on to estate sales because I have a question about that. So, I'm an heir to a property. My parents have died or whatever, and I've got all this stuff in a house, and so I can call a company like yours, and you'll come in and get it all ready, figured out, I guess, what we should take and what we don't want or whatever, and then will you facilitate selling everything off?
Yeah, it comes in many categories. We've done a lot of estate sale auctions in-house so that we clear it out. We just finished a big house where the heir had passed, the matriarch had passed away. She'd been in the house 75 years, and there were letters from George Washington and Queen Victoria signatures and Einstein signatures.
Wow.
We put things out on tables. We categorized them, so all photographs went together, all jewelry went together, all silver was set out, and then we had 17 grandchildren who divided up the belongings after the two heirs took what they wanted. So it was a huge project. It took us 3 months to do.
Wow.
But we have a couple of ways and systems for holding auctions amongst the family, because the main thing is you want to have it be fair and equitable and not have the squabbling.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
And it's really, my mother started doing this with drawing straws, and I have 4 sisters. So,
wow.
It's a hard process to do, but this particular job took us 3 months, and we didn't have any dissatisfaction in any way, shape, or form. So I'm very grateful.
Wow.
Great.
That's great. What's the most challenging situation you've had to deal with?
Well, I think for me, because of my dyslexia, I did a move coming in from London, and I met the clients for 20 minutes, and they bought $20,000 worth of they didn't bring anything from London per se, a few pieces of furniture, but they ordered and had delivered a lot of things. The entire process was over 8 months. And I met them for 20 minutes, and the rest of it was done by email, and, by email. That was really hard because I'm not very email-oriented.
Interesting. Okay, so now how do you help people become more productive and organized in their lives? I mean, it sounds like you do this kind of a consulting service as well when you're talking to people who are, whether it's moving or not moving, but maybe just in their professional, like you were talking about KPMG, are you working with an organization to help their people become more organized and productive?
No, we're actually working with individual executives.
Okay, all right.
So we go in and, like you were saying, we were talking about their being visual.
Okay.
Most people are visual when they have a cluttered desk, and so we try hard to either build stacked shelving so that they can have a shelf for all of their items, or we find out some way that we can downsize them, keep their top priorities, scan their belongings so that it is electric it's computerized instead of having paper, fixing their actual emails and sorting so that we sort their minds and sort we figure out how they think, and we sort how we think it can work for them and permanently change their lives so that they can be more productive. That's one way that we do in an office, for example.
Mm-hmm. What's the biggest move you've had to deal with, and how long did that take?
I would say there was one job we did last December. It was $53 million house on 12 acres.
Oh, geez.
We had 3 heirs, and they were selling the house off, and it took us 14 movers, 14 organizers, 20 movers, and it took us 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that was down in Silicon Valley.
Wow.
Jesus.
And did you have to send off things to various places so that some things went to that heir and some things went to that heir?
Yes. Wow. With both houses, the house where I said that I had the 17 grandchildren, we had to send it to 17 places. This $53 million house, we had 3 heirs, and they had to be sent to 3 different places. One was in storage, and it was 107 volts, which is over a mile's worth of volts.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I think after the second vault, I'd be like, okay, I'm
That's
so
enough.
done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
So do you do space organization as
so
well?
what I was thinking is,
that's what she does. Yeah, I know she does. Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking, so somebody downsizes from a 1,500 square foot house to a 700 square foot condo. Can you go into that unit and look it around and go, okay, here's how we're going to get more space out of less square footage, if you will? Does that make sense?
We're doing a single gentleman. His partner had passed away 2 years ago, and he's now moving to a retirement home. He's going from 1,600 square feet to 575 square feet.
Yeah, there you go.
And he had more art than the MoMA, really. He just had an enormous amount of lovely things. And we put the little puzzles together, and I went in there, and his idea of how furniture was going to fit meant that when he actually saw it on a piece of paper, there was a foot between all the furniture, so it really didn't work.
Yeah.
And so we got to see, and I actually put these little puzzles together, and I moved it around, and I said, oh, here, look, just to make it fun, your bedroom could be this way or this way. And he went, oh, my goodness, that's a great idea. So
that's good.
We tried to make them, the hardest part of seniors moving is that they seem to take too much, and then you're stuck with having to move it out again.
Yes.
So this design layout is ideal for that kind of person. As, what you see on the piece of paper can't change. It's just how it works. So
that's
probably
great.
the hardest part of having to move for a senior. But we make it, I always say, I'm going to make it into a mini museum. I'm going to take all the best things that you have and everything you're going to love, and you'll enjoy it. It'll be great.
That's I like that a lot. I'm going to have to steal that from you.
Yeah.
What are a couple of the biggest mistakes people make when they're moving their home?
I would say they don't sort and edit enough. I would say they don't listen to the realtor enough. That they
or the organizer.
We like that.
And then I think that they are when they try to pack themselves and they try to do it themselves, they exhaust themselves. The first part of a move, I think, is probably 2/3 of the job. And by the time they've gotten themselves packed, they are so exhausted that they can't even unpack.
Right.
They waste. They might have hurt themselves and so forth. So if they can get some assistance, family and friends, or hire an organizer, get them to sort and organize and downsize, then they can label it to go in the right place. They don't know how to do all of this stuff, so it just becomes chaos. And when you live in chaos, your mind isn't thinking correctly.
Right.
You can't find the dictionary or the phone book or the checkbook or the whatever, and it makes people lose it.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know what I wanted to ask is I've been in situations like that, and it's a
or
control.
She's lost it. Yeah.
No, quite. It's a control thing. It's somebody's they're moving, and you're trying to say get in the organizer, do this and that, and it's a control thing, and they have to sit and look and touch every single item, which you're right creates burnout. They're exhausted. It's not done with clarity. How do you get that?
How do you manage them away from?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a really old person, we'll come in and I'll hire somebody to sit and talk to them. And because they go and tell you about their stories and they want to be heard. So I get somebody to hear them and listen to them. And then we put things out on tables so that they can see it, touch it, and experience it. And then there's the motto of give away, throw away, keep, read later. So if we're going through the process, we might put like kind together and say, look, you have 5 spoons. I don't think you need all these. How about if you take 1? Or if they pick up an article and start going back into the past, we'll say, okay, we'll pick it up and we'll put it in a box and say, this is for you to read later.
Okay.
So
that's a good idea.
We move the process along as kindly and gently as we possibly can, because time is money.
Right.
And but we have to honor them as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's good.
You know.
Okay. How do potential clients find you?
Well, we're on the website. We have a great website, and probably most of our business comes from word of mouth.
Well, okay, so I'm dying to ask, have you ever worked with any famous people? You know, people. Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Anybody you want to share with us?
Oh, my favorite was Peter Coyote.
Oh.
He wrote the most amazing thank you letter.
Oh.
Really, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And Peter introduced me to Sean and Robin Penn, who's now Robin Wright. And we met Walter Afanopoulos, who wrote the music for Titanic and got an Oscar. We moved Dean Ornish, and we've moved, and I'm not allowed to say their names, and some very fancy people in the tech business and in the social world.
Okay.
Wow.
Folks, we'd like to remind our listeners, if you want to become part of this conversation, you have a question for Margaret, give us a call at 415-431-8255. All right, so top 3 recommendations for someone considering a move.
I would say that they should be very diligent about editing, sorting, and downsizing. And I think that they should be listening to their realtor about the size of the house and get a floor plan so they know what furniture is going to fit and what's not, because if you drag a whole lot of furniture and it ends up having to be taken in the house and then taken out, you're wasting time and money.
Sure.
I think the third most significant thing is that they must plan and organize closets, storage, and other areas, because this house that I moved from New York, from the penthouse, she forgot that her husband was coming along too and needed an office.
Well, so did he lose a closet?
He lost an office.
Oh, see that? I'm telling you, it happens. You got to be careful. You lose a whole room.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, 35 boxes arrived with all kinds of treasures for him, and there was nowhere to put them.
Oh, man, that must have been a moment that was not fun.
It was crazy, but we fixed it. We figured it out, and but that happens a lot. I moved. A client was coming in from Florida, and there was no front hall closet. There was no linen closet, and we had to make a mudroom in the garage, and we had to change some other things out and put all the linens in all the different closets in the house because there was no other place to put things. There's a lot of that kind of. So when people are moving and you ask what are the downfalls, if you clearly understand that you're missing a washing room or a laundry or you've got 3 libraries and a 3-car garage and you're moving to a 1-car garage, you have to accommodate that.
Yeah,
I think you're the fixer.
Yeah, I'm visualizing this poor guy's now in a closet in his office.
No, but he likes it. He's happy, right?
Yes, right next to his wife's shoes. Okay. So now part of your business, I know, is kind of a concierge service relative to moving, and you know, I think there's a phrase in one of your brochures, moving concierge services. How do you define that? What is that?
Well, that's part of our white glove service. We help families. A lot of them that are coming into the area don't have picture hangers or decorators or contractors or home theater people or people who set up computers and that sort of thing. Also, for example, one of the things that we do is utility setups and close downs. And so this is part of the concierge service where if anything's going to go wrong, it's probably the phones. So I say to the person that's hiring us, it's going to take us a minimum of 5 hours working with Comcast or Verizon or whoever we're working with, PG&E, And that extra service, including, for example, us going and giving them the platinum performance, which is drawer dividers, hooks, nail, everything that could possibly make a house a home within that week period of time, we can transform it so that, sometimes it takes 10 years for a house to really feel like a home.
Yeah.
We can get it 95% close to that in that first week, and you just move on with the rest of your life. It's a blessing.
Wow.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun job.
It is fun. We love what we do.
Oh, I think that's
okay.
Great.
So if somebody wants to get into your business and goes, I want to do that too. That sounds really exciting. How do they even get started in that?
Well, there's a lot of organizers they can work with. I would think that person who wanted to get into the business is probably a born organizer and already is doing it.
They're probably doing it all. They're already seeing the
ask their relatives and their friends to hire them or use them.
You mentioned an organization, NAPO. Is that
NAPO? National Association of Professional Organizers.
Okay.
It's international, and there's classes, and you can get certified, and I think I've been a member for 21 years.
Great. So now if somebody, as we get down to our last 30 seconds here, someone wants to hire you or wants to get in contact with you, tell them how to do it. This is your time.
Okay. Well, our phone number is 415-461-6257.
Okay.
And our website is changing-places.com.
Okay.
And our email is info, at changing, CHANGING-places, PLACES.com.
There it is. Folks, we'd like to thank you, our listening audience, for tuning in to today's show, and thank you to our special guest, Margaret Walsh. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you so much.
Margaret, that was
You were
great.
Thank you. Very informative.
Yes.
And thanks to my co-host, Lisa P. If you want to hear the show again, you can download it at the podcast on iTunes and our website at thepropertybeat.com. That is it for this week.